Happy New Year, everyone. Just give a few more minutes for folks to trickle in, especially because it's the first meeting of the year.
Hey guys.
Welcome. We give it 2 more minutes. All right, let's kick it off. Welcome to the Tuesday, January 7th, 2025 SIG Multicluster meeting, first meeting of 2025. Happy New Year. Arthur, it looks like you're first up for agenda today.
Hey, yeah. So yeah, my point was about potentially adding a target port field on the service import. I can maybe share my screen. The PI is super slim. Oh wait, no, it's disabled. But anyway, you can click
Let's,
on the PI.
you should be able to share now.
Yes. Whoop. So yeah, so not much going on here. It's pretty much the target port added. There is also a mention that some implementation may not potentially populate this field at all, regardless if it's present by the user. Sorry, I don't know how to say your name, but things commented. Yeah, basically in Cilium, we would potentially need that because we have derived services and we would like to pass down this target port to the derived services from the service port. Yeah, I don't know if you have question or comment about this potential change.
I mean, I can share some context as to why we left it out originally. And it's basically, I think it's basically the comment that it's not really necessary for all implementations, and it's sort of an implementation detail. Like the service import gives you the information to find the remote services. How they get plumbed together kind of is left up for the implementation. So the idea would be that if you had a derived service-based implementation, whatever's creating the service, like the controller that creates the service import for that implementation, could also just add the target port on the derived service, versus being something that actually needs to be on the service import. Like the consumers don't need to know about the target port to consume the external service via the service import. That was the original.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, it's possible technically in Cilium, but that would be the only field that requires diving into our internal struct rather than just service import into derived services, which is
Right.
not super convenient. And also, if I may add, the V1 Alpha 2 that Mike was working on. The service port, well, he put the service port directly from the core service struct. So this would be implicitly added into VIA Alpha 2 if we are still going that way, or maybe it will be changed in the future, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'll say GK does the same thing, by the way, in terms of like just plumbing the target port out of band. Like
Oh, okay.
uh, my main concern here is actually that last line of the comment that this may not be populated. Like to me, that seems dangerous as an API. Like we add this, the service import contains information necessary for consuming the service, right? And that's the primary API for consumers. If we want, I'm not entirely against adding a target port, but I'm against adding a target port and saying that we may not populate it. So
Okay.
if we're going to add it, we should make it part of the expectation. And I'm not sure it makes sense globally. If it's just there as convenience for some implementations, but actually relying on it could mean that your workload's not portable or, you know, behaviors are inconsistent. That's my concern.
I mean, technically, outside of the implementation, yeah, as you also said, it shouldn't be used. And it's also optional, even from a user's point of view. So I don't know. But yeah, I see your point. I think
Mike?
Mike has, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say the fact that it's optional is really um, secondary to the fact that it's not really for consumers of the service. If consumers of the service are not going to be paying attention to it anyway, it doesn't matter whether it's optional.
So the entire service import resource is for consumers, basically, right? Like that's the discovery mechanism for remote uh, services with MCS. I am hesitant to say that once it gets added to the API that consumers won't be paying attention to it, and we can make any assumptions about that fact. People take dependencies on things all the time that they weren't originally supposed to be caring about, and
Indeed.
that's kind of where the concern. So if we make it
Right.
part of the consumer API, we're telling them you should pay attention to it.
Well, or at least you telling them you can. Right. So I think this
Yeah.
is the main point to discuss, right? So I'm not very familiar with this. Is there like another side of this where that's not consumer facing, but service provider facing?
I don't think so. Well, basically, you have a service export that the user directly interact on, and then service import is primarily for third-party integration and user checking it, I guess. But I'm not
Well,
sure that answers well your question.
yeah, I'm not sure either because I haven't studied this stuff. Is this something that would be more appropriate for the service export than the service import?
Well, it's already on the service, the exporting service, right? Um,
So why is it needed here?
well, it's the exporting service is in a different cluster. So having some representation in cluster is key. But I think there's a few things. So one, like I'll just walk through some of the logic we had when we did it in GK, not saying that this is the right way or the only way, but just kind of what we were thinking is when we created that service import, we create the drive service that that's where we put the target port. Kind of as necessary, uh, versus the service import, which is that discovery mechanism. The other thing is that currently in the API, there is actually I don't believe we have a requirement that the target port is the same in all exporting clusters. And that would be a change as well. I'm not sure that's a material change in practice. I don't know how much variation there actually is, but I don't believe we actually require the target port to be consistent in all clusters that export a service, just the service port. And adding a target port on the service import would add that requirement.
I don't know if that works, but I'm sharing should be sharing the Cilium schema. It's full of implementation details, but maybe it helps in terms of service export. So right here, you have a service and you have a simple resources service export that just say this service should be exported. And then implementation details. And then you have a service import, which also should merge with the local cluster services. And now also like implementation details, but relevant to this discussion, I guess, which is the derived services. So I create an actual services that represent these import services from all the clusters.
Right.
And this is what actually power like proxy and stuff.
So this makes sense. So yeah, in the model where you have an MCS API service reconciler that takes the service import and creates a derived service, then you need the service import to have everything. The other model is that the service import reconciler just also creates the derived services, and it just owns the two resources at once. And if you have that, then you don't need the target port to be on the service import because you can just basically bypass it.
Yeah, I guess you are right. Or also, I could, in my controller, I could like, because it's in the same like actual software, so I could probably use the same internal structure and still do it in 2 or 1 as you just proposed.
And that's what we did
Okay.
for GKE, just for context. Again, not saying it has to be that way.
Yeah, well, I kind of like the fact that my 2 controllers were super separated, but yeah, that kind of makes sense. I could think about that. Yeah.
Mike?
Again, I'm not familiar with what's really going on here. Is that target port a port on a local proxy endpoint representative some of some sort in the local cluster, or is it really the target endpoint in the remote cluster?
That would be the target port from the remote service.
Okay, thank you.
Well, technically from all services might be local as well, but yeah.
Right. Yes. Yeah. From the exporting service anywhere. And again, that's a change because today I believe we do support having n different, maybe given implementation done, but we do support n different target ports, I believe. In each cluster.
And so for V1 Alpha 2, that's something that we need to change as well, I guess, like to not directly get the core port structure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Unless we want to push back, I'm more want to have the dialogue here. But that I just kind of want to share that original thinking and why we didn't have the target port from the get-go.
Well, I think it also kind of makes sense because if it's a name, it might be even more confusing. Maybe the implementation can figure it out. But like if target port is name and we don't check any container port name, which makes sense to not check because it sounds difficult. But yeah. And well, to me, it was more the target port was more relevant in terms of local cluster too, because you're probably not aware, but I have this trick of I use the endpoint slice controller from the local cluster for local endpoint, and for remote endpoint, I use my own. So target port would be way more relevant in my case for the local endpoints than the remote
Got
ones.
it. Okay.
But I mean, I could try to like get the target port, the right target port. I just would need to like add this additional info somehow. I don't know yet how, but maybe I need to try to implement it first and see if it's a major pain, and maybe come back to the discussion if it is.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that would be good signal. If doing what you need to do ends up being difficult, then maybe we do need to change the APIs.
Okay, sounds good.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing how that goes. And if we have missed something big and we need to revisit, Corentin, I think you're next.
Hello, happy New Year, everyone. I wanted to come back on the poll and give the results on the name that we would want to pick for that management cluster. Still calling it like that because that's what I got in the PR, but trying to figure out what the future name would actually be. The poll was something, where is it gone? Obviously, that's the moment I need it. The link is gone. Sorry, 15,000 tabs open. Hold on that. Hold your breath. We're talking, sorry. Boop. Like something 16 for hub cluster and 11 for management cluster so far. So that's people are liking hub cluster more. I will note, so I picked the first survey thing I found online, and that was kind of a bad choice because I have no idea who voted, and you can actually vote twice. So awkward moment. At least, well, something we learned. I think there's a maybe small reference for hub. I won't complain. I mean, our product was called hub before, so that kind of makes sense. There's some management cluster in there. I hope not a lot of people voted twice. I think all the other names, at least we could kind of consider that people didn't care about them. So at least that's that. I'll take that signal, not having me vote for any of them. What I would say we could is, now talk more just about those two names if you want, or respect whatever that vote was, or do a shorter vote on the PR directly, since that way our GitHub accounts, we can do an emoji-based voting or something like that, reaction-based voting. That could be another option. Just wanted to point that out. Maybe I should have done the right survey, but sorry, I did not. But yeah, just wanted to report that the PR is still open. I haven't looked at it recently. I need to go back and see if there's some outstanding comments. If you haven't looked at it, I'll share the link again, but it should be in the notes. But yeah, I'm just getting back to this thing. So I don't know if there were more comments from last time.
I think we can do another vote because the cluster profile. I'm sure you remember we ran. I don't know. We ran the votes like 2 months, and there were 2 or 3 different URLs. So if you feel like the results are quite close, and we can do another one that just something that we're more comfortable with. And also,
and I remember for cluster profile, didn't we vote on something and ultimately picked a different name anyway?
No,
we did not. Okay, good.
Cluster profile was the. I forgot what happened, but yeah, we ran it multiple times, and cluster profile won multiple times. So it was quite clearly the community consensus. That's why we went with it. And I put something, in the chat as a as an option for your whatever
for the survey.
Whether you prefer for survey or in the GitHub, so we can leave our ID, the best of the both world. But anyways, jokes aside, yeah, I think the vote is close enough, and you see that if you think that I don't think anyone's being malicious that voting twice or just to get their favor. I think it's just like could have been a mistake or whatever. And if you think it is close enough, so I think we can do another round. And it was also over the holiday period, so yeah. Thank you for running this vote. I mean, naming was quite difficult last time when it comes to cluster inventory. So thank you.
No, thanks for the comment, and I love the hub management cluster. It's definitely going to make it a mouthful, but yeah, let's try to avoid that. But no consensus here. I think it's kind of close. So I'll see. I'll share that in the chat. What I may do is leverage GitHub reactions on the PR. That could be one way to encourage people to actually look at the PR. How about that? Is it a
I love
trick?
it. Yeah, just publicize. Yeah. Yeah, we also used SurveyMonkey in the past, I think, for some names.
I think I might have needed an account or something, so that's why I'm like, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it cost anything. It's been a while. But yeah, I don't have a strong preference. But I do think it's great to community source names because I'm very bad at them.
Same here. Yeah, other than that, I wanted to encourage people to look at Ryan's properties doc. I think it's still in there. I don't know if he's made more progress on it. There was, but yeah, that was just bringing attention to people. I know it was December, so it might have slipped through for everyone's mind. So we're back into it, and hopefully we can actually close on properties this year and sync with the About API folks.
All right. Oh, Brian, so you added.
Yeah, it's pretty much just what it says there. We have a ton of PRs on the site that need to get reviewed, but I think we have one PR to get Steven added to approvers, and he's been pretty active on that repo. So if we can get that one through, then he'll
Yeah,
probably
okay.
facilitate.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll get that done today.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sweet. Okay. Unless anybody has anything else, I think you can all have a half hour back. Thanks, everyone. See you on GitHub and Slack in a couple weeks.
Cheers.
Right.
Have a good day.
Happy New Year.